Good morning, everyone. Distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends. This is indeed a great pleasure and honor to be here on the Global WaterTech Summit today. Apologies, I got a little stuck in the rains and got delayed by almost an hour. This event is very crucial as we understand because of the topic. However, sometimes what happens, every other forum that you go today, anything to do with environment, our priority either on climate change or on energy, or the third one is water. Sometimes we feel we are highlighting some issues a little bit more. Certain issues are more exposed than others, relatively. Obviously so, because water is a lifeline for the humanities and also for the existence of the planet. So, the management of water resources obviously involves practices and technologies, and today we highlight the technology part here in this summit. And most water conferences obviously trying to focus on how to handle the issue of water today. I usually use a presentation, but for a change this time I thought I will not do so because of multiple reasons. One is sometimes it sounds like more academic pursuit. So here I understand we have practitioners from all across sectors as far as water is concerned. So I wanted to bring in certain aspects which I feel is very, very relevant, and I'm not very sure whether we originally had plans to focus on those issues in this summit in particular. So that is the reason I thought of bringing out some aspects which I feel is very important. And more so, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a technology person. I'm more of a practitioner, more of a conservationist. I spent all my 25 years of career in the development sector, mostly with NGOs. So I didn't want to bring in some borrowed knowledge, technology knowledge, and share with someone, a room full of gatherings who understands more technology than me, for obvious reasons. So I wanted to focus on something else, something to do with ironies of water sector. So when I say irony, right from the beginning when we start talking about India's water resources availability. So first quote we usually cite in most water conferences that, there's a disparity in terms of what we have and what we should be having. Given the fact that we have 140 billion people on this country, which is about close to 19% of global population, whereas water availability is only 4%. So which is a big disparity. And irony starts from there. So if we go on, so you will be able to understand and see more ironies. And I wanted to highlight these ironies because the moment we talk about sustainable water resource conservation and management, if we start overlooking these ironies, no matter how much effort we put in, no matter how developed technologies we brought in, no matter amount of money we pump in, our end goal, which is sustainable water resources, will not be fulfilled. So these ironies I wanted to highlight to begin with. Although Our water resources availability in a global scale is only 4%. But if you look at the number of designated water bodies in the country, including lakes, lakes, wetlands, and rivers, and as per one of the studies undertaken by the ministry, it's more than 5 lakhs. These are major water bodies. So despite these many numbers of water resources in this country, we still have scarcity. So that is the first irony. So, and what are we doing about it, and what technology is doing about it? So that is my first observation. I come from a state called, in the northeast, called Assam. Assam happens to, and more so, my home state, which was earlier undivided Nagaon district, it's now divided into 2 districts, Nagaon and Morigaon, happens to be the home for highest number of wetlands in the whole of state. Now they're disappearing, and disappearing really fast. When we refer to Northeast or Assam for that matter, we always feel यहाँ तो बहुत हरियाली है, बहुत जंगल है, बहुत पानी है, water bodies है, resources, natural resources is in plenty. But gradually, this whole narrative is changing, unfortunately. For whatever reasons, I'm not saying one particular factor is responsible. We have both man-made as well as natural factors responsible for this. Man-made, obviously, we are responsible for what is happening to do with the mismanagement, wastage, over-exploitation, and that is leading to pollution. So that is one major issue. And the other major issue, which is purely natural, which is climate change. So these 2 factors coming together, making things very, very difficult. The ground scenario is changing really fast. As a young kid, I still remember, I've studied in Sarkari schools mostly. During our recess or break times, we would go and drink water directly from the hand pump. Now you can't do that. Even my parents now has an RO at home. So that is, you can see, and it's not many years ago, only 3, I'm referring to only just about 3.5 decades ago. So see the contrast, change. So these are some of the ironies that we need to look into more critically than ever before. Another irony, of course, while we now realize the potential, and we also emphasize the role the private sector can play. I also now part of the private sector. But if you look at the larger picture, in India, we still have the government taking the lead. Like for example, we have Amrut campaign. So about 3 lakhs crore money earmarked for the entire campaign, phase 1 and phase 2. And private sector share is relatively smaller here. So we probably have to think to find ways to be able to increase the share and the contribution, not necessarily financial inputs, but also in terms of technology, in terms of solutions. We will have to figure out how private sector contribution can be increased. Other irony that I wanted to highlight, like for example, I got stuck in the rains today. I was in Assam until day before yesterday. Oh, sorry, yesterday. I just came back yesterday. I was supposed to come back on day before yesterday, and I missed the flight because of the rains. I got stuck. It was absolutely waterlogged. My flight was at 8:25 in the evening. I was still in the city almost 7:30. I couldn't move. And I was hoping that, because I also wanted to rush back because I have 3 commitments today. I need to be in another meeting right after this. So I wanted to be in Delhi no matter what, as soon as possible. And I just reached yesterday, and I was hoping things will be better here. Today, almost similar, in a similar fashion, I got stuck in the rains while coming to this place. So this used to be not very normal in Delhi, this kind of incessant rain. While in the northeast and Assam, it's very obvious. I grew up facing rains for 3, 4, 5 consecutive days, and it used to be normal. Of course, it was frustrating, but this was the norm of the day. But now this is becoming normal here also. So this so-called climate change is playing tricks here. So that's where these are the again ironies. These are ironies not man-made. Of course, we have made a contribution big time in making things more complicated as far as changing climate is concerned through various interventions, which is not environment friendly. But we can see the results on ground. The other irony that I wanted to highlight is, of course, solutions are there. We have the kind of startups and are getting incubated in this sector and alone, water and overall, if you look at the environment and climate change domain, the number is really, really encouraging. But many of them, unfortunately, are not able to go beyond the pilot phase. They have a prototype, they are not able to implement it on ground, big scale. I was just speaking to one of my brother-in-laws the other day. He has been working on a very unique innovation and started developing boats using discarded windmill the panels. But there's no buyer. It has been successfully implemented, tried and tested, it's working fine, but there's hardly any investor. So we will have to see how to overcome these challenges. So that is another irony. Sometimes we have a solution, we know it's absolutely fine and it's working, and we have the classic example, we need electricity for a country like India, which is already struggling with fossil fuel. Fossil fuel, we already have a shortage. So obviously we have a huge dependency on hydel. But as we know, hydel also has its own challenges, and especially environmental issues coming out of when we set up a big hydel plant, it's another level of challenge. So these are some of the ironies that we need to see how to overcome. Of course, solar is a boon. Solar is a boon for our agriculture sector also. And this is a welcome move by the government, because solar, the moment it has been introduced, the pollution, air pollution happening through pumps in the large, expansive farmlands of India, the agri sector overall, the pollution level has went down big time. But one thing that also we need to be cautious about when we start using solar pumps, and not only in the agriculture sector, like for example, India has a very, very rich tradition and culture of natural resources management, harvesting, sustainable harvesting of resources. For example, if you look at the Johars in Rajasthan. Now, in Johars also, in some parts of Rajasthan, people are using solar pumps to lift the water up, because otherwise it was becoming extremely difficult, because every other month the water level is going down and down, down. But the moment we use solar pump, which is coming at almost zero maintenance cost, we need to look for, critically see if we are not over-exploiting. At the moment we over-exploit, so obviously we are opening another gate for wastage. We are opening another gate. The moment we are using excess water in the agriculture sector, we probably have more avenues for the water resources getting polluted. So these are the critical issues that we will have to probably look into. Without taking much time from you. Of course, we have some of the eminent speakers lined up for the day, more valuable than what I probably bring in to the table as far as technology is concerned. I wanted to highlight some more issues. Like, issues is the opportunity. Of course, we have only been focusing about challenges. I remember Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who later became the US ambassador to Japan. He used to always highlight, we should always be able to turn the challenges into opportunities. So, despite the challenges in this sector, in the environment sector, we have an enormous opportunity right ahead of us. And something India did over and over again. If we look at the COVID case alone, we know how in an extraordinary way we have turned the tide around as far as COVID is concerned. Not only managed it well within the country, but also supported other countries. So I see that opportunity here in this sector alone. If we look at, if we talk about numbers of numbers, so water sector alone, as far as last year's data, the market size was about 740 million USD. And the projection is by 2030, it will increase by threefold, almost threefold, 2,200,000 US dollar. So it's almost threefold growth that we are expecting in this sector. So with this note, I again thanks the organizers, Punitji, for kindly extending this invitation to me, come and join all of you here. And thank you once again, and wish you all the best. And I'm looking forward to a very, very fruitful and productive deliberation. Thank you.